Hi, everyone. My name is Boyang, and unlike the other speakers before me, I don't really have a slideshow, and I'm also not a doctor either. So I'll be sharing my own experience in terms of mental health and gaming addiction. I grew up in mainland China. I immigrated to Canada with my parents at the age of 15. And by profession, I'm a software developer here in Toronto. At home, I'm married to my wife, Echo, of 12 years, and we have a 6-year-old daughter, and Evelyn is with me over here. Like my daughter, Evelyn, at a very young age, I was considered a very good kid. I listened to my teachers, I obeyed my parents, and after elementary school, my parents left for North America in pursuit of a better life for the family, while I stayed with my grandparents back in China. Life back in China in the early 90s was really simple, at least for me. There were very little distractions. There weren't a lot to do other than studying. Even without my parents being around, I was able to focus on schoolwork without much supervision. And I was a smart kid. Not the smartest, but smart nonetheless. And I started really, really hard. I almost always ranked first in my class and regularly top 5 across my grade. I was also very athletic. The combination of my academic success and this made me very popular among students and their parents. Which I think of it now, maybe I was only popular among the parents. But I know I was definitely well-liked by all my teachers, I think. Things started to change after coming to Canada. At the time, I had been away from my parents for 3 years. Coming to a new country, having to speak a different language, and making new friends as a teenager. You have to understand, in the 90s, there weren't as many Chinese people as today. A high school of 1,000 people, there were probably only 10 Mandarin speakers. So I was socially challenged and had very few friends. Academically, though, compared to the intensity back in China, high school was very easy here. Instead of getting up at 6:30 to get ready for school, I now was getting up at 8:30 as opposed to studying in class until 6 or 7 and being buried with homework past 10 p.m. School was now dismissed before 3 and there were no homework. And I can still rank top of my class. I need to find something to do with all this time. So quickly, I discovered this thing called computer games. And it was very fun. At that time, I was still living at home. So my parents, I believe like any parents today, they hated seeing me playing games. And they would kick me out of the apartment and just to go outside. After graduating from high school, though, I went to Waterloo to study engineering. Most importantly, Waterloo was 5 hours away from Ottawa, where my parents were. Nobody is going to stop me from playing games anymore. So I played day and night. When my classmates were studying, I played. When they were sleeping, I played. When they were having lunch, guess what I was doing, right? I was around the same height as today. And I weigh about 170 pounds right now. Back in year 1, 130. After 1 month of university, I was down another 20 pounds. So this rang an alarm bell. I realized I cannot continue this way. I must make an adjustment. And that was to sleep when my class was in session. The first year was still very easy for me, and I was able to average 80%. 2A was a very different story. I failed a course for the first time, which was calculus 3. My mark was 39. Math was always my strongest subject. That term, I averaged 59.5, which luckily the school decided to round up to 60, allowed me to proceed to the next term. Being the only child from China, and also because I had always been a good student, I had never met any real setbacks. I was really crushed. I also saw the pain in my parents, in my father especially. To me, he had always been a very strong man, as tough as a man can be. He didn't beat me or say any harsh words. Instead, he wept. He blamed himself. He said he should have known. He should have kept a closer eye on me. Then I wouldn't have gone this far. Only then I felt guilty. Both my parents worked in labor jobs to pay for my tuition. I had let them down. But at the same time, I just couldn't control myself. Rather, I was controlled by those games. I was in pain, embarrassed, at the same time, tired and sleepy from playing those stupid games. But I couldn't stop.
Okay.
I played less when I was with my parents. And when I was back in school, it would just go in the other direction again. God's plan is amazing. He opened my eyes through this. From a friend, I started attending the Mandarin Fellowship at my school. And from then, God's words entered my heart. There was one verse from Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 and 9 that says, "For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and it is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast." It is through God that I was able to see my sins, and I cannot break loose from it by myself. The only way was to come to God, confess my sins, ask for forgiveness, commit myself to Him, and this is the only way to break loose from my sins. Today, 20 some odd years later, I still play games, not on a computer anymore, but on smartphones. I still get some joy from playing, but it doesn't control me anymore like it used to. Friends, perhaps what you are facing today is different from what my experience. But if there were any old habits that you've been trying to break for a long time, then may I invite you to learn more about this forgiving God. With His mighty hand, break away from the unbreakable. This was how I would have concluded my sharing until about a few hours ago. Earlier today, I was sitting outside my daughter Evelyn's ballet class, waiting. There was another parent that was sitting next to me, a mother with two daughters. One of the girls just finished her class, while the other one was just supposed to go in the same class as my daughter, but she just didn't want to go. The mother did not force her to go in, nor did she give in to her daughter's wish, which is to go home. Those would have been my options if I were in her shoes. And I would have been very stressed either way. And most likely I would make my daughter cry quite a bit as well. Both those girls, they sat on their mother's lap, and the mother calmly explained to the daughter that she could go join her friends in class whenever she's ready. They will just stay here until the class is finished. And that's what ended up happening. The three of them waited together outside for the whole hour. Didn't change back to street clothes until everyone else left. I was really shocked. This is not the option I would have thought of. Nor would I have gone through with it even if I did. This was the least efficient way. A whole hour wasted. You know, the mother could have gone to the mall, get groceries, or do something else that's more productive. And at the same time, I was amazed how calm this family was this whole time. Nobody raises their voices, nor was there any whining, let alone any crying. Everybody was calm. And in my mind, this is how a mentally stable family looks like, calm. I thank the mother for showing me a different alternative if something like this were to happen to me and Evelyn. And my daughter, she asked me, why did I thank the lady? I told her I would have criticized her in that situation. And she nodded in agreement. That's exactly what I would have done. My first thought after this was, if I were calmer in similar situations, my daughter would grow up, be a more emotional, stable, or better mental health. Then my immediate next thought was, no matter how hard I try, or how careful I be, there'll always be moments I forget, or I lose my temper. So it's very likely that she will have mental health struggles in the future. There was a very short moment of despair. I was sad because I wanted her to be happy and safe all the time. But that moment was really, really short, that moment of despair, because I know who could help her. The Bible tells parents, as Mr. Park just mentioned, to pass down God's words to our children. And moments like this is where I say I couldn't agree more. And I would encourage everybody listening today to do the same. Learn more about this Almighty God if you are not already a Christian follower. And if you are, share what God have done for us to our children, which is the greatest gift of all. Thank you.